Good evening, everybody. Right now we are going to get into a quick discussion of constants. So what is a constant? Well, typically it's something that we're going to consider doesn't change. And it's very simple to work with, every constant. Ah, okay, so constants are simple to work with. Again, we're going to write our main method. And typically we're going to declare our constants at the top of our program. So let's say we have a constant, and constants are things that we don't want to change. So for example, let's say I have an integer, and it stands for, the number of, let's see, the number of books in my library, which at this point hopefully it won't change because otherwise my apartment will overflow. So we'll call it books in library. And I can set that to some value, maybe it's 300. So I have 300 books in my library. And right now this is just a standard integer, it's not a constant. What would make it a constant is if I included the word final in front of it. Now the interesting thing is I can name it without that word final. And here I can say books in library equals, let's say I decrease by selling some books, it becomes 50. And you'll notice that's no problem. I can totally do that with a standard integer variable. Now let's change it to a final variable. Suddenly I have an error. Final indicates that we are going to have a constant, and that means we shouldn't be changing this value. But we see down here we try to change it, and so we mouse over and we see an error. The final variable, final local variable books in library cannot be assigned. It must be blank and not using a compound assignment. So what that means is I can use it. I can do something like this, and I can run it and it'll print out 300, it'll print out the number, but as soon as I try to change it, maybe by saying books in library plus plus, as soon as I try to change it again, it'll give me an error. Now, you might be confused by the fact that this looks just like any other variable. It turns out there's a special notation that we should use for constants, and the way that we do it is we just name it all in caps, and every word is separated by an underscore. For example, instead of books in library camel cased, it would be books in library. And that's one way to indicate that it's a constant. So we see that it's a constant, a final variable, and we can print it out as such. And that indicates in the code, oh, this is a final variable, this is a constant because it's all capitalized. Other constants you might be aware of are math.py. Notice math.py, and if I print this out, is a constant, and I definitely can't change it by saying, even though it's public, I can't say it's equal to 5. It'll give me an error. It'll say the final field cannot be assigned. So again, we have a final field. We delete it here. We'll mouse over pi and we'll see that it's a double value that's closer to pi than any other. And the reason we know it's a final is because it is capitalized. This ends our discussion of constants. and the use of the final keyword. And I'll see you next time.